What's going on, guys? We are the 5 Year Plus. My name is Suddy, and this is Shyam. And as usual, we're previewing the weekend's work, the weekend ahead. Sorry, we've had our international break, lots of injuries to Liverpool, lots of injuries all around, really. And yeah, so let's get into it. So, been a week, Shyam. I feel like we lose touch of what's going on in the Premier League. When you have like two, I do feel that way. Like,
yeah, thankfully nothing's happened, but it still feels like we've lost touch. Yeah.
Yeah, look, man. In the last 2 weeks, there's been no shit. International football. There's been 3 vaccines now that's out. All three have 90% efficacy rates and above. Man, there might be fans in the stadium again soon. It's all upwards. Donald Trump's officially lost the election. I mean, the world's getting a better place. Anyway, let's talk about the games. Yeah, let's talk about the big one. Straight to the big one. City, Tottenham, Pep, Mourinho. If you ask them 6 years, it's 10 years ago, they thought this would be the game they'd be playing against. I think Mourinho would have said, "No, what Spurs? No."
It's not the England Classico, is it?
No, but at this stage, the level of football that at least Tottenham's playing makes it a huge game, a bigger game than it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, so you kind of tell me your thoughts on where you think Spurs is heading in the minute, and how this game play out.
I think Spurs are in a pretty good place. I mean, they're second. They're one off the top. They've got, I think, equal best goal difference in the league. They've got a bit of punch up front. It's a typical Mourinho team with sort of strength in defence, strength in midfield, and a bit of and that sort of speed and dynamicism up front. He's molded the team quite quickly into a team in his own image. And I think the questions around him when he came into the role, it was kind of like, can he do with Tottenham what he's done with other teams? Well, apart from the Porto side that he had, he's had teams that are typically like this, like strong spines, dynamicism up front, very efficient. His team's always been very efficient, not necessarily full of flair. I don't think Harry Kane scored that many goals recently. I know he hasn't scored for England for a long time.
He's already got 8 assists in the league, I think.
Yeah, he's turning. It's the way football is played now. That forward almost drops into sort of a false 9 type position. That guy in the centre, and it's the wingers that cut in and seem to score a lot of goals. I know when Australia adopted the Dutch school of football here and started rolling a lot of that out, that's what we found. The centre goals weren't scoring; it was the wingers, and that is coming into football. And he's got Son and Bale out, and Bale's going to add something to this team. Bale hasn't really played a lot in the Premier League. So that there's an upside to this Tottenham side, absolutely. City are a bit like, if they lose this game, it's a big loss. If I think they're 10th at the moment, but if they win their game in hand, they're only 3 points off the lead. If they were to lose here, and I think that they will lose, it's at White Hart Lane. I think Tottenham got enough of a punch to create that distance, and they won't be scared. They beat Man United 6-1, so they won't be scared of anyone. And I think if they get that win, City starts falling off a bit, which is not a situation Pep Guardiola is used to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in respect to Spurs, with respect to Spurs, Mourinho always has these kind of generals he has on the pitch, and he almost lets them do a lot of the managing. And if you look at the first Chelsea side was Drogba, United was Zlatan. With Madrid, it was almost, you could almost argue with Xabi Alonso, definitely Ramos, and this side he has transformed Harry Kane and Son. He's a bit of a Son whisperer. Like, I don't know what it is, whether it's more of a do what you want, everyone else will take care of everything else situation. But no, he's transformed them. They're not conceding particularly well. Yeah, so they're not conceding a lot of goals. Either 9 goals. They scored 19 against 9. I see a win as well. In fact, I see a tough game, but I see a win. Yeah. I think it's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Pep's going to overthink this too much. I don't think there's much. Excuse me. There's not much to overthink. Excuse me. Man City, on the other hand, I don't particularly agree with you. The way I'm not as comfortable as saying it's going to be a win, because it's, I think they're coming out of the international break with players in good form, Phil Foden as well. coming out of good form. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as easy as we think, but I do see a Tottenham win. And I tell you what, Tottenham go win this. Let me just share the screen here.
I'm not thinking. I don't think it's an easy win. I think they will win, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be easy either. I see it sort of like a 2-1 to Tottenham, and I
Jesus
see.
Christ. Tottenham's next few games.
Yeah.
Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Leicester.
And Wolves.
So if they go on a run, they're gonna by February or by January. You're gonna look and lead again in the start of February. You're gonna look at them and go, this is not
arrived up to Tottenham's on Boxing Day. So by Boxing Day, they would have played all of those teams. If they can get the results, they could have created some separation.
Yeah, big separation.
Yeah.
You could see Leicester, which we'll talk about next. I guess it's also quite a big game. You could see Leicester as well be part of that breakaway, which I still think United could be part of that breakaway. No, they're not going to be part of that breakaway. All right, so I think we're both on the same page here. Score? What do you think? You looking at a big score there? That game?
Tottenham City. I think 2-1 Tottenham. And I think it's 8 goals, but I'm quite comfortable giving Tottenham the win here. I think they'll earn it. I think they're good enough.
The interesting thing about Mourinho in this particular team that's different from Chelsea 1, Chelsea 2, different from Inter Milan, different from United, is that he doesn't set up this season. Since they beat United 6-1 and just touched before that, he doesn't set up to defend anymore. He doesn't set up. I wouldn't say to pass the bus, but he doesn't set up with the opposition in mind. He's got such good players who are in the prime of their powers right now. Is that he can go play on the front foot, and he goes and attacks the opponent. And that that 6-1 win was immense for every single player who played, and people on the bench as well. So look, it's going to be interesting the next few weeks for Spurs.
I mean, City won 6-1 at Old Trafford. That started a dynasty for them. I mean, it's a significant result. Even though United were terrible, it's a significant result.
It is, because that 6-1 that United lost to Cities, United weren't terrible. United just kept pressing forward, and then they kept conceding on the counter.
There are man short. They were 4 goals in the last 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, it was exactly. It wasn't a terrible. This was a terrible performance.
This was 4 goals.
Okay.
In 5 minutes.
Jesus Christ. All right, moving on to Liverpool versus Leicester. Now,
Liverpool reserves, against Leicester.
Yeah, Liverpool reserves. Back in the 80s, the Liverpool reserves would have beaten anyone. But for me,
Shankly quote? Was it the Shankly quote?
It was. I think it's a Paisley Shankly. Yeah. The best team was Liverpool. The second best team, Liverpool reserves. Mourinho said that two seasons ago. The second best team in the world, the Man City reserves. So to talk about the game, I don't think there's much to be said about Leicester. They, like we said, they're a top 6 club. They're top, 7 club. Liverpool have every player in the world injured. They don't have a back four. Their back four is injured. Fabinho, Thiago, both injured. Salah is COVID positive.
Again.
Who else? Who else am I thinking of?
Henderson.
Hendo's out as well. Yeah.
Back four. It's
and their backup centre back is injured. Reece Williams, the kid. I mean, it's hard to. It's just purely on paper. And Leicester, like, just go to the injury list here.
Leicester's the type of team that they find your weakness and they go with it. The one thing that might help Liverpool is that Leicester can't really plan for this game. How can you plan for a team when you don't know who's going to be playing? That might count against Leicester because they do seem to be a team that really plans very hard, finds weaknesses and goes at them. Having said that, you'd rather play Liverpool reserves than the Liverpool first team. So, there's a bit of a bitness there, but it's tough for Liverpool at the moment. And it's the thing about the league as well. They're playing the same number of games in 1 month less. That's the plan with a major tournament at the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's the best players, like Liverpool have so many internationals. All the big clubs do. So these guys are out in their legs and they're supposed to go and play 3 games for their country. It's absolutely preposterous, the expectations that are on them this season. This we're talking about these 9 injuries like this is the most for like when it comes to Christmas. I think these teams are playing like 2, sometimes 3 games a week until I think it's mid-January. So there's another
Yeah,
7
sounds
weeks
right.
of this, and they've been going for since about mid-September. So it's about 8 to 9 weeks in. There's about another 6 to 7 weeks of this just clog of fixtures to go before there's 1 game a week, and that's because some teams will get knocked out of the FA Cup. That's not because of the fixtures being stretched out.
And the thing to add to that as well, I'm just trying to get a Liverpool predicted lineup. The thing to add to that as well, the Liverpool play that Gangen press. They play the club style of football, and Klopp in his 3rd season at Dortmund, which is the only thing he can go by. You saw them all drop off, but they weren't getting injured. They were just dropping off in performance. I think this has translated into people getting injured because, like you said, crazy amount of games. Those players played their fucking lives out last season. They played out of their bodies, man, last season. It was almost spiritual, some of the things they were doing, scoring in the fucking 95th minute every week.
Cathartic, like the way
the way they lost to it in the season.
The demons, so to speak. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think it's just catching up to them. It's look, I revel in Liverpool potentially getting smacked this weekend, which I think is going to happen. They did last season when they played the reserves against Villa, a potentially relegated Villa. They got smacked 5-0. I think that's going to happen this weekend. Just because,
aside from their midfield, you can't really name a lot of Liverpool's apart from Adrian and the midfield. You don't really know a lot of the reserve players for Liverpool. Their defenders, their forwards, like then they're no names, and that's not to have a crack at them. They're just that's the size of the squad and the nature of that squad.
And the thing that's scary as well is that you find the intangible, the confidence as you get from having a backline, having your unnatural, your non, maybe Virgil's out, we'll put Fabio, and Fabio's out now. Okay, put Joey's there. Don't worry, no, he's out. Bill Martin's out, and then he just shrinks. And I genuinely would love to see them go win this game on a real tactic. It would go to show that firstly this team is the best in the world. This manager is the best manager in the world, and it will go to show that anything is that kind of any kind of problem solvable. And as from a footballing front, I'd love to see that, but no, I don't want to see them win.
So like, if it was anyone other than Liverpool, and we've been sitting.
But if it was anyone on the Liverpool, we wouldn't hear about the story. This wouldn't be a story.
We've been sitting here a lot talking about Liverpool having big games, lots of games in a row. Their players are, sort of, it's a test of their resolve. And they've actually been doing, they did well in the Champions League. They're 3rd in the league. They're 1 point off the top. You just wonder whether these additional injuries, and like some of them are long-term. I think Gomez is long-term. Van Dijk's long-term. You just wonder whether, too many straws and the camel's back,
When's the wheel's going to fall off finally?
Yeah. And like you're saying, just looking around the change room when you don't recognize people, when you lose 1 game, it can build in as much as Liverpool's performances last year. Win breeded this invincible mentality. You wonder whether the opposite will happen. At the moment, it hasn't. But will there be a trigger? Will there be something that makes the wheels fall off?
Yeah, and as far as Leicester go, we've got to give some respect to Leicester. Like you said, they are a top side. And I think they will go and smack them because they have top players. It's not going to be a case of, it's not going to be a case of them taking advantage of a weakened side as much as.
This is 1v3 in the league.
On
the table, like it's a.
It's not 2v3. Oh, it is 1v3. Sorry, Spurs is second.
Yeah, and it's at Anfield, for what that's worth without crowds.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think a 3-0, 3-1. I'll be surprised if Liverpool get a goal. I'll be surprised if they get much attacking football. They're going to get more of the ball. They are just that side. But where they get into the final third, I don't see even them getting much of that. But look, prove me wrong.
Yeah, I think Leicester will win. I think it'll be closer. And that, in that, I don't think Leicester will score a large amount of goals. But I think they'll be well worth the win. And death taxes and Jamie Vardy penalty. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to let's go to Arsenal. Sorry, Arsenal. United West Brom. So we just brush over this game. What should be an easy 3 points. So
Yeah,
just
so
to,
we've
on
gone
second
from
last.
3 to 14 versus 18. Yeah.
Yeah. Relegation battle of sorts. Look, but in all honesty, West Brom, United don't have many injuries at the minute. Alex Tellers came back negative on his COVID test. They apparently got reinfected, which is a whole different discussion about reinfection. But he came back negative. Bruno Fernandes, thank God, came through the international break unscathed. I mean, you're looking at Liverpool and just going like, oh, please, like United, if Liverpool can't afford it, United can't afford injuries either. Luke Shaw's out, so Alex Tellers should be sitting there. But hopefully,
He'll offer something different, Tellez, with his ability to cross the ball from deep positions. I think that can help. It depends on. I mean, Martial's good in the air. Rashford's good enough in the air. It can offer them something different as opposed to the whole get the ball to Bruno and he threads it through.
Yeah.
Maybe having Tellez and that guy. The Alex Ferguson said about David Beckham that he could take out the fullback without going past him. Maybe Tellez can offer that different variety to.
You took the words right out. Like, seriously, I was just going to say, when I saw him against PSG, in the Champions League, he had that Beckham-esque quality to his cross. Very pinpoint. But I guess in this day and age, you could say it's a Trent or a Kevin De Bruyne style, very penetrative, very like Beckham's had this kind of loopy quality, but the crosses we have today is very very kind of. It's like a stab in football when you have it like just 2 meters off the ground. Just
although De Bruyne gets the loop in. How he gets his crosses in is phenomenal. Alexander Arnold's good, but De Bruyne.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just a quick brush over this game. I hope it's like a nice 2-0 win. Don't expect much from United to score many goals. I think Martial is just a bit low on confidence. Rashford probably won't even play the full game. Rashford's got something, an injury, which I think he's just taking injections for every week that he's not saying out loud, that no one's saying out loud.
It's probably his back.
Was it his hip this time, actually? This season was the hip, I think. But yeah, it could be the back. But I think there's an injection that he's taking every Sorry?
It's all probably linked, maybe the hips.
Yeah, definitely. He's probably the most loved man in the country at the minute. Can do no wrong.
Yeah, I think in the league at the moment there are 5 absolutely pants teams at the bottom of the ladder. Brighton in 16th. They're 4 points off Leeds in 15th. I can't believe Leeds are 15th. It's a bit hard to believe, but it shows how even the league is in that top 15 spots. It's 5 that are sort of fallen off. So West Brom are below Fulham. We've sat here and rubbish Fulham all season, and West Brom are behind them. I think they drew at Chelsea, right, in Thiago Silva's first game, but they've not really done much. So yeah, I'd expect United to win comfortably. I think an early goal will dictate the match. If the longer that United don't score, they could get nervous and jumpy. But I think a good, solid routine win is needed for United, and I think they'll get it. Yeah,
absolutely. We'll move on to we'll go Leeds Arsenal first, and then we'll finish off with Wolves Southampton. Please Arsenal. Arsenal as well. Very kind of shaky form. Let's just go into the last. Few games. Arsenal. Sorry, I'm just going to get into the last few games. Of course they lost 3-0 to Villa. This is shambles really. But then two games ago they beat United 1-0 at home.
And that Villa loss was shocking. Like even in the first minute, Villa got this incredible goal which was called offside rightly, but Arsenal were torn to shreds, and you just knew, oh my god, what's going on here. And it's they've done well against top sides, Arsenal, but it's through taking their chances and holding things firm at the back. And it's kind of the United quandary in that it feels like, despite, like you show that graphic, they're winning the UEFA Cup, they're on mid-table in the league. There's sort of shoots of hope, and then it sort of falls in on itself again, and you just wonder how that, having 2 weeks to sit on that could shape their season, and that they could bounce back and have a very good season, or they could just wander around in the nothingness of 11th that they're in at the moment. So how about the game would be important. Leeds lost their last 2 games 4-1, if you see that.
Yeah, eight goals against, 2 goals for, and but they beat Villa 3-0 2 games ago.
Yeah, the Villa quotient, the measure. Yeah, Um, the interesting thing with Leeds is because they play that high intensity football, which frankly is good enough to go up against anybody. You just wonder if it's the 2 games before the break created some fatigue. They played in the Championship, which, to be honest, is probably the most grueling domestic league in the world, and they won that playing this style. So you'd think they could get through a shortened season. Those games aberrations, or are they a sign that they're just falling off?
Yeah. I think that the lucky thing about Leeds is that the bottom 4 teams are so bad that there's no fear of them really getting relegated at the minute.
Yeah.
However, that could work in their favor where it takes them a season to stay the ship. It is kind of funny to look at the table. Like it didn't even occur to me, but Leeds is right down there.
So the bottom 4 teams, if you include 5 with Brighton, they've played 39 games and have got 16 points. That's shocking.
Yeah.
Like you think of a team playing 38 games in the season and needing about 40 points to be safe.
Yeah.
That's really bad. Brighton, I think they've been unlucky, but they're still 4 points off 15th. The rest, I mean, to think that we've rubbished Fulham all season and they're not in the relegation zone, that's a bit of a worry.
Well, they're playing at Ellen Road. What do you think? How do you think the game goes?
I see it being a draw. I'm thinking possibly a high scoring draw because I think both sides are better going forward than at the back. So something like a 2-2. 2-2 draw, I think.
Wouldn't be unlike Leeds to get a 2-2 draw.
Yeah. Oh no, they're on a 4-3 result. It just, I don't know. I'm getting those vibes thinking about it, but I'm gonna go with 2-2.
Yeah, I was gonna go high scoring draw myself. It's but I'd like to see Leeds. Leeds have been very unlucky, especially in the early parts of the season when they lost to Liverpool, and there's another loss they had. I'm just trying to figure it out. The City loss. I guess the City draw. City should have won
4 games, so they lost against. They lost to Leicester. They lost to Liverpool. I don't know who else they've lost to.
They lost to Wolves. Should have been a draw there. I watched that game.
So they've lost to the team. Palace are 8th, right? Wolves are 9th. Liverpool and Leicester are top 3. So they've lost. You lost to very good teams.
Yeah, and the problem Leeds now, the next 3 games are quite tough with Arsenal against a stuttering Everton. We could go and take points there, and Chelsea, who I think will steamroll them.
So Everton a couple of weeks ago were top of the league. They're 7th now.
Yeah,
so that's how close the league is. Yeah.
Well, Everton was never going to maintain it because of their dependence on those few players who are not Premier League players. I'm not saying Rodriguez got found out easily. I'm just saying his style of play is an old style number 10. I say old style, I mean the Mesut Ozil type number 10, which I think is quite easily distinguished. Yeah, lightning slow, exactly.
Yeah.
So they could find their groove again. It's Ancelotti, man. He's the master. He's what do they call him? What's his nickname? I can't remember now. What's his manager nickname? Is it?
I'm not
basically,
sure. That had something to do with his eyebrow.
The eyebrow. Yeah. So look, I think it's going to be a draw as well. I think it's going to be a high scoring draw as well. Leeds need to kind of manage their players over the next few weeks with all the big games they have coming up. So it will be interesting. The last game, your beloved Wolves against Southampton. So it's fourth against 9th. Yep. Southampton were briefly on top last weekend on the Friday night, I think it was. And they look like a side, man.
They look like a bunch of rabid dogs, and I mean that in the nicest way. They went at Newcastle's throat. They're pressed.
Just give me a sec. Just give me a second. I'm sorry. Give me a second. So if you look at their last, let's say 6-7 games or so, since they lost 5-2 to Tottenham, they're going to beat Burnley, West Brom, drew to Chelsea 3-0, beat Everton, beat Aston Villa, beat Southampton, beat Newcastle. That's a very good run. And then they're going on to play a bunch of easier games now, which is in Wolves. Oh, sorry, excuse me. They have Wolves, United, Brighton, Sheffield, Arsenal.
United. You mean United?
Yeah, Man United. Yeah.
The key.
Go on. Sorry. Yeah.
I remember they didn't do particularly well last season until after the COVID break, and they beat City, and then they took points off United. that high press, they can create lots of problems with that. They're very good with the press, and they caught Newcastle out repeatedly. So maybe Wolves are fairly good at the back actually, but teams do struggle against presses from time to time. So I do fancy Southampton purely because I think they probably had less players on the international break than Wolves, so they would have had a bit more of a break. Wolves, I mean, how many of them are playing for Portugal? I'm not sure, but it'd been a fair whack. So I will lean towards Southampton. I think they're on a better run of form. I think they'll have a bit more freshness in the legs.
Yeah,
and I think that they've got the mentality. Seeing Theo Walcott play, he's probably the player for the week I want to watch out for. He was great against Newcastle.
he definitely was.
That's the player that Arsenal wanted to buy as a 17-year-old. Like, he just looked so good. Like, just pace, his verve running at the defenses, the way that he took the game on. He's going to be the one that I got my eye on this weekend.
He's 30. Walcott is now 31.
He was 17 in the 06 World Cup. Yeah, so that makes sense.
He was 17 yesterday, yeah. He'll always be that kind of 17-year-old. But, like, okay, on a serious note, he's 31, prime of his powers, experience, the perfect time and experience and physical ability comes together. I mean, he could go lead them to a European place, something they haven't played in fucking decades.
From memory is his hometown club as well, isn't it? Like,
it is, yeah.
There's a certain thing to be said for playing for the team that you grew up and supported for. As much as you wanted to play for Arsenal, like, there's something like Letitia. We've got, it was a Southampton legend playing his whole career there. There's something to be said about playing for your hometown club.
I'd love to be corrected, but I'm fairly sure him and Bale went to school together and they played in the academy together.
Yeah, I know they're both in the academy. Oh, imagine that. Yeah.
But Walcott tells a story. Walcott tells a story of, like, Bale being so good in high school that they asked him to use his right foot because he was so fast and so good. Like, when they were playing inter-school or kind of friendlies and stuff like that, he was so fast and so good. But wow. No, they're both from Southampton. But yeah, look, it's something to be said about him going back in the way like Tevez has gone back to Boca Juniors. You have a bit of pride, It's like, can I take him to the Champions League? Can I take him to a top 3 finish? Who knows? Well, it's all early days. But don't forget, if you project the league on, they could come top 4, top 6.
Yeah, you never know. They're on a good run. The thing is that this league is so tight at the moment. There's a whole bunch of teams that are fighting over those spots at the top. So they're on a good run at the moment. It's hard for me to sit here and say I think they're going to finish top 4, but at the moment they're just as likely to finish 4th as they are 15th. The way that the league's going, it's still there up for grabs, and like games like this become very important in that conversation about how.
In saying that, I do believe Wolves are going to win the game. I think Wolves. Yeah, I think Wolves are going to win the game. I think they're just a better side. I think they're finding their feet. Like we said, they had that 3 or 4 extra weeks than ever, 3 or 4 less weeks of preparation and more games. But I think they're finding their feet. It is nice to see on that point. Just as we finish up here, I guess I'll just kind of just say the rest. I had a point I wanted to make. I'll just kind of run through the games.
Well, we've got we've probably agreed on all the results bar that last one. I've gone Southampton and Wolves, but I think we've agreed pretty much on the other results.
Yeah, just to kind of run through that. Newcastle playing Chelsea. I think we both think Chelsea are going to win that. I think Chelsea's in the ascendancy at the minute, big ascendancy. Villa, Brighton, I think as well. Villa and the ascendancy, they're probably going to take that game. Sheffield, West Ham. I think Sheffield, could be a draw that game. What about you?
I see a very tepid draw in that game.
Yeah, tepid. Yeah, it's one of those low pay-per-view.
Some caffeine. Yeah.
Yeah, Everton could get Everton against Fulham could get a bit of groove back. With that game. Burnley, Palace. I think
they need to win, and they should.
Yeah, get the groove back exactly. And the last one we haven't talked about, Burnley, Palace, which I think Palace are going to take.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Geez, what were we talking about? I just wanted to make a point. I wanted to talk about something.
Number 10s?
No. Oh yeah, no. This is my point. When did Man City get bought out by the Arabs?
From memory, it was 08.
08, because that's when Company came that year. Yeah, there's like 2 very pivotal points, maybe 3, in like recent Premier League history where I think is when Chelsea was bought out, because that meant that things just went from the big three or the big four to a big five.
Yeah.
But when Man City was bought out, that expanded it to, for some reason, Tottenham became really good around that time, 8, 9, 10. And then because of the emergence of Bale, the emergence of Wande Ramos coming over to manage them, I think it's very interesting that this whole time, two big money takeovers have expanded the league into, have made the league way more competitive than it is. But this season, who would have thought that injuries and a pandemic would have made the league? That's what it is. That's why it's so close, because of the frequency of games, because of COVID. I just think it's very interesting to 12 months ago, we said Southampton be in amongst it. You'd be looking at a dangerous Crystal Palace. Yeah, I just think it's very interesting. There's a point I wanted to make. This will become a pivotal moment we look back on. Hopefully, we're doing these videos in years' time, but we're gonna go like, fuck, man. Like, COVID did a number on the league financially, competitively. Players are gonna want, like, there will be players now looking on, going, I wouldn't mind playing for Southampton. Yeah, and going, do I want to be in a Liverpool that, I'm not saying Liverpool by any means is bad. They have 12 injuries, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of take that point and see what you thought about it.
What I would say is that last season and the season before, you probably had a top six, probably the two Manchester clubs, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Liverpool would be your top six. And you had teams like Leicester and Wolves and Everton, all trying to knock on that door. That's been completely taken and thrown out into the sink. You know what I mean? Like Leicester have taken strides forward. Wolves have taken strides forward. Arsenal and United have fallen back. Chelsea fell back significantly. They're coming back now. The whole idea of that top six has basically been flushed down the toilet. It's really like the way that teams finish this season. And you look at takeovers like Leicester's takeover. You look at what Wolves are doing with the Portuguese players. The scope and shape of the league could change a lot this season for seasons to come.
Yeah,
it could be a real watershed season. And if you are, a United who's down in 14th or your Arsenal who's 11th, you better get your game up. There's no guarantee that next season it will go back to normal and you'll be fighting out for the Champions League. Absolutely no guarantee whatsoever.
Yeah, and the second point I wanted to make was I saw Jamie Carragher on, I can't remember what show it was, but he was doing an interview, and I thought it was quite a good interview, and he talked about Pogba, and I think he expressed it the best. I have always said it's time to go, and I don't think it's because I don't think he's unhappy. I don't think he's unhappy at the club. I think he's unhappy with himself. But I think for United to progress, I think he needs to go in the same way. A lot of clubs. A good example would be when Michael Owen left in 2004. Liverpool kind of released, and they went on to win the Champions League. I feel since Gerrard has left Liverpool as well, ironically, Liverpool have transformed themselves. They were able to kind of become removed from a legend who's trying to bring back the glory days. That's what I feel Liverpool is now. They're not looking at the glory days anymore. They're in the glory days because that guy's gone.
Yeah.
Pogba, not so much glory days, but I think there's so much emphasis. He's been in the club for 4 years and we still don't know his position. I think he needs to go. I think they've taken the 1 year extension, and I think they should sell him in the summer.
1 year extension was taken to hold on to his market value. But the reality, absolutely, he was bought as a player of potential. He's now a 27-year-old. How much better is he going to get than what he's doing now?
He should be doing what Yaya Toure was doing in 2012.
But they gave him every chance. And the reality is, I think when they bought Bruno Fernandes, that was the end of Paul Pogba being the general of that team. Fernandes is the exact player that they wanted Pogba to be. So there's no spot there for Pogba unless he changes. Yeah. And I don't see that happening. If there was a club in world football that could afford his wages, he'd be gone.
Yeah.
COVID has kept him there longer.
Yeah. I think, I really do, because do I play him in this team now? In expense of who? Who they play last United? They won their last game is Everton, I believe, right?
Yeah. And Fernandes, 2 goals and laid off the third goal. This is United. It's Bruno Fernandes' team, and Paul Pogba wanted to play in a team where he was the man. In the same way, he came to United.
Yeah, in the same way, even though he's not captain, it's Van Dijk's team. It's Van Dijk's Liverpool in many ways.
Oh, the team you remembered that way, yeah. As much as City have had success for a long time, and that was Company's team. Yeah. And they're finding that identity now. without company. They still haven't. We're still talking 15 months after the company left the club that they need to replace him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, clubs
Yeah.
kind of. Roy Keane at United is probably a good example as well. There was whilishing behind Chelsea. He left November 05. Chelsea won the 06 league, but Keane left, Van Nistelrooy left around the same time, and then United, those young guys suddenly became Ronaldo, Ferdinand, or became senior players and drove that team forward. 07, 08, and won the league and the Champions League. It's kind of that sort of thing, yeah. And Keane is a United legend. Some people will say he's the greatest United player of all time, but he left at a time where it was done.
If Pogba goes and leaves, what I see could happen. Okay, in this market, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to get 80 million for him. Okay, they're going to get 80 million
for Jack Grealish. You're paying 80 million for Paul Pogba. The only thing that makes it less is
Jack Grealish.
Yeah,
you're talking about man crushes here, Shyam.
Aston Villa started at 80.
We're getting into dangerous. With Jack Grealish, you're getting into dangerous conversations about my sexuality. I'm so confused when I look at him. God, his hair's better than lethal.
This weekend, by the way, Jack Grealish.
He's my player to watch every day, Shyam. He reminds me, and I only say this with the way he makes people feel when he plays football. He reminds me of Paul Gascoigne. Playing for England. I've been watching here and there with Villa. I've watched the England games during the week. He's just joyful, man. He's just this guy who, like, let's go have a kick in the park. And like, his best friends are all playing with him now. Mason Mount, Declan Rice, Jadon Sancho. They're all friends. So my point is, if United go and sell him for 80 million, but Paul Pogba, go and getting a Grealish, a Sancho, either one or both. I mean, puts United and a centre back, puts United in a different kind of conversation.
With the centre back, I'm hoping that Tuanzebe is that centre back. He's my man crush. But I agree with you. And
you have a type.
Similar age as well, Tuanzebe to those guys. But the thing with Grealish, I said he played a lot like Joe Cole, just because. But in terms of the way he moves, but I get the Gascoigne link, and Joe Cole was often likened to Gascoigne as well. There's an expression, and you can see. He's a young talisman. Not many teams have talisman who are as young as he is, but he carries that Villa team. And he was the heart and soul that win over Arsenal that we were talking about before.
Absolutely. Anyway, any more thoughts there, Shyam?
No, good. We were looking just before. Is there any games this weekend? There's probably 4 or 5 really good games this weekend.
Actually, sorry, the play of the week, actually.
Yeah, I give him mine already. So.
Oh yeah, it is.
Walcott.
Who did you say it was? Walcott. I was gonna just 2 seconds. I'm gonna look at the games. Just it'll come to me as I look at it. I'd love to see. I think I'm gonna go with the Spurs play. I think that's the game of the week as well, just in terms of blockbuster value. I think Harry Kane. I think he's now transformed to a false 10, if you will. I'd love to see him. This could be the game. This could be a game that people talk about for a while, where, like, if they go on to win the league, let's say, we'll talk about this game the way, I can't even think of, the way, like, we still talk about, do you remember that game United played in 2009? I hope you do. The Fulham game, Ronaldo scored in the 92nd minute, or the Kiko Macheda.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I say 97. That's how I remember it.
Halfway, and he ran past a whole bunch of fellas. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the way 2009, Kiko Macheda scored that goal. I think this could be that kind of game for Harry Kane. So I'm going to go with Harry Kane.
Yeah, I actually had a feeling you'd pick a Tottenham player. I thought you'd pick Bale, but Kane. He's almost playing that similar role to Benzema at Madrid, and Benzema scored a lot of goals. People forget that he had a lot of assists, but he scored a lot of goals as well.
He still does, yeah.
Yeah, so he's turning into that player, and Mourinho teams play well with a really good centre forward, and he's probably the best centre forward in the league right now. So
absolutely,
150 goals. Jeez, how do you get 150 goals?
I swear he made his debut like 2 seasons ago.
If he got 15 goals a season for 8 seasons, he'd be 35, and he'd be on 270 goals. And 15 goals is not a lot. So barring injury, you think he could beat Shearer's record, and that's saying something.
Give me a second, like, just before we finish off, I just want to just take a quick look here at his kind of record. There it is. So he's been playing regularly. Shyam, when do you think he's been playing regularly since? I mean, more than 15 appearances for the season.
Oh, like 2011, 2012?
Yeah, no, not that late, not that early. I mean, so 2013 he made
Yeah.
19 appearances, half of which was in the League Cup. Okay, no, that's a lie. Half of it
There was
was.
a season where he kept scoring in the UEFA Cup, and I think Harry Redknapp was the manager, and the fans would like get him in the league,
So
get him in the league team, but Harry was quite reluctant. Yeah.
so that was the 2014-15 season,
Mm.
or 2013. No, he kept scoring the League Cup. So, oh, 1 second. Yeah, 2014-15. He played 51 times. That was the Tim Sherwood season. Tim Sherwood put him through.
Yeah.
So he scored. Let's just go through this real quick. Okay, he's played. I'm just gonna say the appearance and the goal record from 2014-15. 51-31 goals, 50-28 goals, 38-35 goals, 48-41 goals, 40-24, 34-24. He's currently on 14-13 with 8 assists in league.
So 14 games, 13 goals, 8 assists.
8 assists.
That's like football manager stuff, you know, like when you buy that £100 million striker and he just scores like goal a game, like that's phenomenal.
Insane.
And he's what, 27?
I think he's 26. 27. You're right. Sorry, just turned 27. Yeah.
Yeah. The only
So
thing
prime.
that will stop him is injury, and he's playing for his hometown club. He would love to win a league title with them.
Yeah.
Phew, yeah.
Conversation. I mean, he's definitely in the conversation for one of the best in the world, best in this position.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, lovely to chat again, Shyam. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are the 5-Yard Pass podcast. My name is Suddy, and this is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
Keep passing. Cheers, guys.
cheers, guys.